Welcome to Menopause Rescue. I'm Dr. Polly Watson. Midlife women are often caught up in a sea of symptoms. Too often, they're overwhelmed by the lack of support from mainstream healthcare. They're inundated with so-called experts who are selling solutions which may lack credibility. I'm a Menopause Society certified gynecologist with both traditional and functional medicine training. I'm here to guide you through this transition and help you decipher the facts from the fads. Armed with credible information, I hope you are empowered to rescue and restore your health, making the second half of your life your best. Welcome to Menopause Rescue. I'm your host, Dr. Polly Watson. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Dr. Terri Peña. Dr. Peña is a board-certified family medicine physician and certified functional medicine practitioner, as well as the founder of Everwell Woman, a private practice dedicated to helping women resolve persistent health issues and age with power, clarity, and vibrancy. With over 25 years of clinical experience, she is the creator of the 4M method, a personalized framework that integrates key metrics, metabolic health, muscle, movement, and Mojo. Known for her deep listening, whole person approach, and commitment to helping women feel vibrant and visible, Dr. Peña guides her clients through profound transition from the reproductive phase to a productive phase of life. She's equally passionate about working with women who are ready to transform from burnout, confusion, and symptoms into strength, clarity, and sustainable well-being. Born and raised and trained in California, Dr. Peña has also served 4 years in the U.S. Air Force and spent years as a primary care provider before building her career in integrated and functional medicine. Today, she lives in Minnesota with her husband and their rescue dog, Gabby. When she's not in the clinic, you'll likely find her remote camping in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness or exploring new ways to help women live stronger and longer with more joy. Thanks for helping me welcome Dr. Peña to Menopause Rescue. So I am so excited today to be with Dr. Terri Peña, who is a physician who is also functional medicine certified. And Dr. Peña has a practice called Everwell Woman, and she has a method called the 4M method. So why don't we just dive right on in and kind of start talking about helping women move between this reproductive phase of life to a productive phase of life. And maybe kind of what does that mean to you, Dr. Peña? And why does it matter so much?
Well, it matters because society says once you're done, having babies, your value seems to be going down the tubes. And as soon as you get a little gray hair, you seem to be dismissed. And then our culture of conventional medicine often dismisses women's concerns and tells them that they're normal and it's to be expected. And what do you think? You're a mom with 4 kids and a full-time job. Of course you're tired. So it's sort of a culmination of things that, in my experience, my personal experience and my professional experience, working with a lot of women, they don't have a voice. They haven't been heard. They felt dismissed and belittled. And the term gaslighting crosses my brain. It feels a little intense, and yet it applies at times. And so I want women to live long, strong, and vital at every moment. I have a thing I tell my patients that I don't want them to end up feeble, frail, or forgetful. And we have such power over not being those things. And a lot of it is just a knowledge. A lot of it is just, this is the options for you. Did you know that XYZ? And empowering women to make choices that fit their life, not to have somebody take that choice away from them.
Absolutely. I love that. And so a lot of us are kind of coming in, particularly at midlife, as our bodies are starting to change and saying, you know what, we feel off. Things don't feel right. And a lot of times, the labs are normal or maybe their primary care is done it seems like primary care is doing less and less and less blood work, right? And so their comprehensive metabolic panel, they didn't check a thyroid, they didn't check any hormones, the CBC, the CMP, the basic lipid panel might be normal, and they say, well, labs are normal, you're just 45 or whatever. So what would you say to that patient that comes to you and says, my primary care is telling my labs are normal, but I don't feel right? What do you say to her? What's your next step?
I say, yeah, I bet you don't feel right. And just because your labs are in normal ranges doesn't mean they're optimal. And it doesn't mean that the right things were looked at. So an example, a thyroid. You and I both know that TSH is the only thing that's going to be done, one lab. And yet if you really want to look at your thyroid, you're going to look at so many more markers than just a TSH. I don't know how many times I've seen a TSH be pretty darn close to optimal, but then we get into deeper levels and there's antibodies floating around and the active hormones are really in the tank, or the vitamins that support thyroid function are not even talked about. So my Hashimoto's patients that come in, I always offer, let's do a nutritional check. And they always look at me and go, what do you mean? We can check nutritional aspects? Yes, we can check things. So I say to them, yes, you know what? You are feeling wrong. You're feeling off. Let's listen to what your body's trying to tell you, and let's start to work with what's out of balance. Where's that showing up? And then how do we find the root causes for it? Because it's not going to be just one cause. It's going to be in many influences to why they're feeling the way they are feeling. So it's opening up the space to hear, how did they get here? What's their struggles? What's their biggest pain? And where do they want to go? How do they want to feel? What time do they want to feel better? And so it's just opening the door in the space and the container to say, okay, let's just listen. I know primary care. I'm a trained primary care doctor. My heart is in primary care, and I left it years ago. And where I hear my patients is that the story you're exactly saying, Polly, is that they're not being listened to, they're not getting the labs, and they're feeling dismissed. So my primary care heart breaks. So I do what I can with the women who do come to me.
And I think you and I both have practiced medicine in the conventional system. So we're certainly not trying to throw primary care docs under the bus. We understand that primary care docs, particularly within the insurance space, are working under impossible conditions where they're given 7 to 12 minutes to see a patient, the amount of documentation that has to be done, the amount of kind of secretarial work that has to be done that wasn't done by physicians prior to the advent of the electronic health record. Like, there are just so many challenges facing primary care docs. But I think that we both, in trying to kind of get to functional medicine and root cause medicine, have been super intentional about giving patients more time. And so that we have the time to ask more questions, dive a little bit deeper, and do labs maybe beyond what the kind of standard preventative medicine insurance panel will cover. So it's just, we're really fortunate to have the luxury of being able to work outside of that model.
Agreed.
So talk to me about the 4 M's of your 4M method.
So people would come to me and I would well, how do I wrap my brain around not only achieving good health, but maintaining it? What about, gosh, how do I wrap my brain? There's so much information. It's so overwhelming. And so I've come to kind of collate it into these 4 pillars. One is the first M, and that's the metrics. Now, these are your personal metrics. What are you monitoring? What are you measuring? And what is the biggest vulnerability that you have? Is it the lipids? Is it inflammation? Is it body fat? Is it lean muscle mass? What is it that is your metric that you want to ground in that says, I want to be healthy and stay healthy? So it's what are you measuring? Because as you both and I know, what you're not measuring, you're going to ignore. So the second M goes into the metabolic health, because metabolic health is the foundation of all of our health. And if we don't have the capacity to burn sugar the way we need to, if we have inflammation going on, if we have gut dysbiosis going on, all of that metabolically then spills out to everywhere: how you feel, how you sleep, how you move. So metabolically, that's kind of the second M. The third is muscle and movement. Yeah, everybody knows we got to move, we got to exercise. But actually, when you actually look into it, muscle is a longevity indicator. When we get frail, again, that F again, we get vulnerable to falls, and that falls can break a bone. So we want to maintain our lean muscle mass for strength and stability and independence. But also, muscle is an endocrine order. It's where your sugar goes. If it's not getting burned and it's not being packed away a little bit in the liver, or it's going to go to the muscle. Outside that, it goes to fat. And so it is one of those key things. And society, for the most part, doesn't have women do strength training. And it is strength training. We're really good about our cardio. We can go run, we can do our ellipticals and stuff. And yet we need to have this muscle aspect. Movement is movement in joints, movement in the whole body, movement in that I want you to go upstairs. I want you to go hiking. I want you to put your body in different aspects of space so that your brain can ground yourself into good stability, so that when you do trip, when you do fall, you can get right back up. Maybe a little scrape, but it's not going to devastate your life. You and I both know when a woman breaks a hip, that they have a 20% mortality in that first year, and they're likely not going to go back to the same level of living that they were.
Right.
So this is where muscle mobility comes in. And that fourth M is that what I call the mojo. So it's like women say they've lost themselves. It's like, oh, what is it? I don't see myself much anymore. And it's that sense of who they are, that kind of drive, that kind of jazz, energy of things. And that's often related to how that person has managed their stress and their awareness of their nervous systems being dysregulated. We have all of these open loops of stress that we don't know how to close. And those open loops creates a percussion on the rest of our body, but our sleep, our mental health, our anxiety, all of these things. So how our brain thinks, how we interface with the world, who we are, who we think we are, our boundaries, what we say yes to, what we say no to. In the midlife, that's where we really start to say, oh gosh, I've said yes to this. I don't want to say yes to this anymore. How do I say no? What do I say yes to? Can I say yes? So these kind of existential questions, but they actually come into what are the choices they have. So that second half of productivity comes in, well, what do I want to do in life? What do I want to say yes to? The kids are about to come out of the house. I can see the next phase. What does that look like? And a lot of times we just haven't thought about it. And again, society really celebrate us when we're in the productive mode. They celebrate us when we have lots of kids or we're married. But once that phase goes away, we tend to get put next to the side. So that's that fourth M. So 4 buckets, kind of just to wrap your brain around. Well, what does it mean to be healthy? It's your metrics, it's the metabolic health, it's muscle and movement, and it's who you are, your mojo.
I love the mojo element because I feel like when we turn 50, there's this switch over of I just don't care anymore, right?
Yeah.
I don't care if I've got a few gray hairs. I don't care if my toenails aren't painted. I don't care if I have 2 pairs of glasses on today, whatever. And I feel like when women are able to set boundaries, they've got that mojo intact. That's when they start taking up space for themselves to say, you know what? I don't need that cocktail tonight because it's not serving me. It's going to trash my sleep. And I have the confidence to say in the social setting, you know what? I'm going to stick to fizzy water. Thanks. Or I'm going to get up and go to the trainer and I'm going to lift tomorrow. And I have the confidence to go into the gym, even if I don't feel that confident on the outside.
Right.
I'm going to do something that makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to start learning how to do strength training. I'm going to start picking up heavy stuff. So I love that you include the mojo as one of your M's, because I feel like if that is ignored, no one is creating space in their life and boundaries to create the metabolic health, to create the muscle, to metrics are discipline, right? I'm paying attention to my health. I'm prioritizing it. We've got to have boundaries to do that. So I love your framework. That's so helpful.
Oh, thank you. It's years in the making. Lots of experience with primary care, with the women who are coming in and sit in front of me. I would struggle about, well, how do I communicate this? And I actually was inspired by Peter Attia's book. And he has kind of frameworks as well. But I took that because it seemed to me that the lens of women's care wasn't really sharp. And so I took that as an idea and then brought it into the life of a woman, and made that a woman's lens. And so that's where the 4Ms came from.
Nice. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of high achieving women, right? You mentioned Peter Attia, who's someone who talks about exercising 2 hours a day. And I think like, you don't make dinner, Peter, right? Like, I really just want to be like,
No, but
you don't make dinner, I bet.
Yeah, one of my goals is to like work out very get up in the morning, do what I need to do, go to the gym, and not feel pressured that I have to get out of there in an hour. I actually want that expansiveness. That's where I feed my mojo, is in that space. But I interrupted you, so.
No, it's totally cool. So a lot of us as busy professional women, right? We talked about kind of creating and setting boundaries so we can do these things, so we can heal, so we can kind of manifest health, lifespan, health span in the second half of our lives. So how do you get high achieving type A women, right? How do you get us to kind of slow down to heal? Or maybe, so I think part of it is slowing down. I think another part of it is setting those boundaries, really to say, hey, I deserve time for myself.
Yep. And so oftentimes it's not the front door I'll open to go, you need to relax. You need to, because that's not going to work, right? I told you, Polly, just chill, just set things down. That's not going to work. But if I talk to you and I listen to your story and I listen to what's important to you and where you're struggling and how you feel less, where you feel blocked, I'm going to bring in the nervous system, and I'm going to bring in how the nervous system with the parasympathetic and sympathetic starts to manifest as I see it in their life. And so I'll go into opening stress loops, and I'll go into how, when the stress in your nervous system gets overwhelmed, it goes into this dorsal vagal release. And then I'm like, whenever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you have the thoughts, I can't do this anymore, whenever you're like, what's the point? And so I'm bringing awareness to, first step is, how are they feeling when they're stuck or overwhelmed? And then with that, how can I help them from awareness, give them little tools in that moment that they can do? It may be box breathing. It may be some other somatic, holding your heart, your belly, looking outside to something in the horizon. All of these things that tell the nervous system it's safe. So our parasympathetic sympathetic is very binary, rare a binary thing in our system, but this is, am I safe or am I not safe? So whenever it feels like it's not safe, the energy is outwardly directed. And so in order to heal, we need to have that energy inwardly directed. That's that parasympathetic. So once I describe their states, then they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was on edge all the time. Okay. So then it's like, well, putting in practices. So it's sort and it's showing them the value and how they feel, but where they are, I think we just do and do and do. We don't pause, we don't breathe until we're collapsed. So can I just bring a little bit of awareness to, oh yeah, I am doing that type of thing. And then the conversation goes, how do we bring that parasympathetic tone in? How do we get that in various ways? And then once they see the value, then they'll want to do more of that.
Well, I love that you're bringing this up because it all connects, right? So it's the if we're going to put that under Mojo, and emotional regulation goes back to cortisol, which goes back to metabolic health, right? So if my cortisol is high, my insulin resistance is high, and that's where I often get a little bit of buy-in when I'm like, hey, all that belly fat we've put around on our middles, part of that is your body's running away from the tiger, and you don't feel like your nervous system doesn't feel safe, so you can't let anything go. So maybe you could lead us in a little box breath just so that people have an idea. So just pretend I'm your patient. Teach me a box breath right now.
Sure.
So while we're on the podcast, people could have a little moment.
And what's great about this is you can do it anywhere. Driving, I do it driving because ever since COVID, people don't drive with courtesy anymore. It seems like, at least those are the drivers I get. And so box breathing is a simple 4 breath count in and a hold of 4, a slow breath out to a count of 4. You hold to a count of 4, and you only need to do that about 2 or 3 times. Your nervous system is parasympathetic.
So let's do it again. I'm going to put my feet on the ground.
Okay. I'm standing, so I
Okay.
always like my feet grounded. But again, the car, I'll grip the wheel just so I can be in my body. I'm a head person. I am always going to be thinking. I'm going to be doing 12 different things in my head. It is a habit of mine to be disassociated from my body. So when I grip, when my feet are on the ground, I'm more grounded in my body. Your nervous system, by the way, talks to you through your body. It'll talk to you through emotions. It's not going to talk to you through words. That's the other side of the brain. The unconscious will talk to you through your body. That's why you want to ground in your body. So if you ground in your body, we're just going to take a nice slow breath. I'll pace it. And so an inhale of count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. And you just want to do that again and again. And taking that deep actually will connect with that nervous system through the vagus nerve. So this is physiologically and anatomically that this will get you in that state. And so doing these box breathings whenever you feel a little tense, a little, then it will ground you. It will ground you. The other trick is just feel your feet. If you're like me, a head case, just feel your wiggle your toes. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm down here again. I'm not up here, kind of flighty. Oh, yeah, I'm down here. So I've done a lot of training with Dr. Amy Epigigan with the biology of trauma. And one of her cues that she's taught us to know that our body's relaxing is a sigh. So whenever I'm doing something and my body likes it, I just end up taking a deep breath. Kind of like, when your dog gets settled down and all of a sudden it just takes a deep breath and sigh. It's that state of relaxation.
Nice. Nice. A big sigh. And all these little stress snacks are so much more effective when we do them throughout the day. So I think a lot of us are in this, I have to go to yoga class, or I have to go to a meditation, or I have to whatever. And all those things are great. I love yoga. I love meditation. But if you can grab a couple box breaths or a couple deep sighs through your day and have resets through your day, then that's going to really push you out of that I'm running away from the tiger state.
Right.
So I love that. Thank you. I feel better after doing that. I needed that today.
Some days are just like that. We breathe more on other days, and other days we're like pretty good. So you have that tool. You have that tool now, Paul.
That's right. That's right. So maybe this is a good kind of segue into, we're both professional women. How do you kind of take care of your own energy as a working clinician, business owner, all of those things? Because I know a lot of women that are listening are also professional women. So I'd love if you could share that.
Well, the first key, the secret, is community. So, having other women around you, like minded, whether they're in the business that you're in or just your cohort, some place where you can not feel alone. And the struggle, and I don't want to say vent, that you can share what the struggle is and then you get support. Not a pat on the head, not that it's going to be all right, that you're just like, oh, I get it. Here, what do you need? The second secret is being able to ask for help. And that can be really hard for us driven people. Our medical professional training says don't ask for help. You can do a curbside consult, but even then, that's only if you're like in the right question to the right specialty, at least from primary care, that is. And so, yeah, community, being able to ask for help. And then it really is for me checking in. What is my energy state today? What do I feel like I can accomplish? If I've woken up and for some reason I didn't have good sleep, I know my day is going to be a lot less productive than I want it to be. And I just need to accept that. Otherwise, I'm going to go into not so great habits of cranking the caffeine or doing something like that won't serve me well, that'll interfere with my sleep the following night. So it really is, how am I feeling today? I want to get done, what's on my priority list, or what's the urgent thing, and then how am I feeling? When I went to the gym the other day trying to lift, I wanted to put the same weights that I the previous time I did these moves. Could I? No, the weights for some reason they were heavy that day. Even though, they were not 65, I had to go to 60. They just felt heavier that day. Okay, it's just that day, and I'm doing it, I'm completing it, and that's a huge win. And so kind of just checking in with that. The other thing is kind of organized. What do you want to do when? And that's kind of knowing what puts you in the flow. How are you wired to take action? Because everybody's going to be a little bit different. There's something out there called the Colby. Now, FYI, I'm a total geek for like learning about how people think and move and stuff. I personality test, all those things. I usually personally take them or I go find them. So there's something called the Colby scale. And the Colby is how do you take action? And there's something called a quick start. If you are score high on the quick start, that means your tolerance for risk is really high. You're like, oh yeah, let's just go do it. It's an idea. Let's run with it. Whereas if you are low on the quick start, you're like, oh, wait. Can I ask a few questions? Can I do this? And so trying to work against your natural ability, natural tendencies to take action will rob you of energy. So knowing how you get into flow, knowing how you take action, then you can arrange your day or your activities such that you're at energy level and you hand off what you're not good at. Or if you have to engage it, like me, I'm a solopreneur, I don't have lots of help for my business. It's just going to take a lot of energy. It's just going to take more time than I think it should, and I just need to be okay with that. So it kind of gets back to, well, no, who are you and how are you wired and what's your tendency, and honoring that, and then being the boundaries of, well, no, I don't want to do that because that just is too energy draining. I don't have the energy for that. Okay, fine. Just put that down. Else. So hopefully some women can grab some of that and feel a little validated that, they don't want to do this. Fine. Don't do that. Other people will have that skills. That's where you bring in that help. That's where you ask for that help.
I love that you're bringing this up, and I feel like that would be a really great way that women could advocate for themselves in a healthcare setting, particularly if they were working with a functional medicine doctor and someone that was really asking them to make a lot of lifestyle change, to share and say, hey, look, I'm someone who really needs to contemplate change. I'm going to have a million questions. You need to give me the smallest bite of the elephant versus someone else who's like, okay, yeah, I'm all in 150%. Give me a new meal plan. Give me 5 tests to take, whatever. And so just listening to you, that resonates so much. And when we ask patients, okay, how do you make change? What's your, one of my questions is sort of like, how full is your bucket right now? How much bandwidth do you have for
That's a great
change?
question.
But I feel like that's one way that patients could kind of walk into that appointment and say, look, one thing you need to know about me that isn't a lab result is how I make change. And
Absolutely.
I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know what? I've got a kid going off to college. I've got a mom going into memory care, and you can give me one thing to do, and that's it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But to put that out there, because I think that's such a valuable point.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make change?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm actually playing with a couple of different assessments. One is called the wealth dynamics, which is how are you with working are in the flow? How are you you make money, but it's actually how do you work in your flow? What does that look like? And the second is the Colby. So how do you work really well, but then how do you take action under the lens of how changes? So if you are like me, a mechanic who likes systems, all right, give me a system to do X, Y, and Z. I will change that to make it fit me, but I need somebody to create the system. Do not ask me to create that system. And in fact, I hire out my programming for my weight training. Could I do it? Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't be as successful as hiring somebody or paying somebody to do that for me. So I create a system. Other people are stars, meaning that they want to be in front of things. They want to be part of stuff. They want the limelight, so to speak. All right. Go to classes where you're dancing. Go someplace where where people can see you. Maybe, other things. So how are you in that state of being in the flow of being achieving? So I'm playing with this whole thing. It'll be very curious. I'll have to update you when I find some more information. But yeah, how do we marry this? It's always been the place of we want these changes, yet we take ourselves out. But why? And it's like, well, okay, we get stuck. But why? We want these things, but we're not enacting it. And I think it's because we don't know how we are best suited for the particular changes, because you and I know there's thousands of different ways to change, but how do you know which one fits you? That's the goal.
So important to kind of know where we are, how we make changes. And it keeps changing, right? As our seasons in life keep changing.
Absolutely.
How we respond to change keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this question. What's one thing you wish every woman knew by the time she was 50?
What's one question that I want women, that what they're feeling is and what they're experiencing is all perfectly fine. They are not wrong. They have the right to feel the way they want to or the way they are, and they have the right to have the emotional experiences that they are feeling. And we shouldn't dismiss them or minimize it or say it's a should or I couldn't or I can't. No, you're feeling the way you're feeling. All right. Okay. Tell me what is that? All right. Okay. And what do you want to change? Where's the struggle? And then where do you want to go? Our lives don't end at age 50. We have 40 to 50 years later. It's only the half. We're in our second half. What do you want to do with that second half? Because you got all the power in the world to do what you want, but you got to work for it. The work doesn't go away. The work never goes away. But yeah, what are you feeling? Just pause and breathe. What are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I love that. And I love that there's the opportunity for improvement, because I feel like I hate it when women come in and they're like, well, I'm just getting old. And like, there's a finality with that. There's an end of the road with that. And I'm thinking, well, if we're saying we're just getting old at 50 and we're only at the halfway point, are you accepting that you're going to feel like crap for the rest of your life?
Exactly.
Like, how is that acceptable in your worldview? Right?
Right.
There's always room for improvement. There's always room to create health. So, we want to acknowledge women where they're at, but also invite them to accept the possibility for improvement, because there always is an opportunity for improvement.
Yeah. We can't change the aging, but we can change how we age.
Right. And that we're not, maybe you and I would be in line with this, is that we're not anti-aging,
Hmm.
right? Like, I mean, I feel like, I'm 51. I know a lot. I'm stronger now at 51 than I was at 30, right? I can
Hmm.
lift more weights. I can do more with my body. I can do more with my brain,
Hmm.
right? Um, so we can always get better,
Hmm.
right? We can
Hmm.
we can always do that. So can you tell us a little bit? You have a new technology in your office because we've talked a lot about muscle as a longevity organ,
Hmm.
muscle as it relates to strength and not being frail, fall protection, all those things.
Hmm.
And so I think you have this M Sculpt device in your office. So maybe you
Do.
could talk to people because that's not something that I don't have in my office, and it might be kind of unusual. So can you tell us a little bit about that so that people know that you
Absolutely.
have that resource?
And when you think it's called the M Sculpt Neo, it's a second rendition of the original M Sculpt. And this one brings in heat as well as muscle contraction to not only build muscle, but to actually destroy fat cells. So the original intention, the FDA approval of it was for body sculpting. So weight loss. And that isn't a bad indicator. Great. I have clients coming in for that. And yet, what really caught my eye was the ability to build muscle. Because oftentimes, when we're just starting out, or like, I just want that little edge. I want my legs and my arms and my stomach just to be a little stronger. You've gone to weight loss. Maybe you've done the GLP-1s, and now you have some skin and some extra stuff, and you want that little edge. And this device allows that to happen with 4 sessions, each 30 minutes. And so it was a way to enable and empower women to get that muscle in a way that sort of just bridged the effort. So it's not an answer to replace it, but augment their journey. So then they can feel what it's like to have these strong legs and feel what it's like to have this great belly. And they just feel better inside themselves. And so they're more likely to continue on with those things. So it wasn't so much that, in the aesthetic type edge, again, nothing wrong with that, but that didn't catch my eye. I invested in it because I wanted women to build muscle. It's also got a rehabilitation aspect. So if you injured a limb, that we can work on just and improving the limb itself. But it was like the muscle part. I have an M that's muscle and mobility. Of course, I'm going to try to get the tools that I can to promote that and encourage that.
So talk me through this a little bit because I've never seen one of these devices. So if
Okay.
I go I went to the gym this morning,
Hmm.
right? But I'm still sore from my last gym session yesterday. And so when I'm doing single leg deadlifts today, I was like, oh man, I'm still a little bit sore because I've torn muscle yesterday by doing that lift.
Hmm.
So if you're using a device to contract muscle,
Hmm.
are people going to go home and be really sore? Like, can you just kind of talk me through the
Sure.
patient experience a
Sure.
little bit?
So we'll just do the belly. So there's if you are a man, you're going to get two of the devices set on your belly. Women will just need one. And so what it does is it bypasses the brain, and it automatically, through like a TENS unit, will grab the muscle and start to contract it. So under a 30-minute session, you're going to experience something like 10,000 sit-ups. Nothing you're ever going to be able to do on your own. And
Hmm.
it's titrated to your tolerability. So it's not a flipped on or flipped off. It is, well, okay, we're going to slowly increase this, and it should never be painful. Now, it might be a little uncomfortable because your muscles are contracting, but it should never be painful. If it is, we're too high. Let's pull it back. You have the heat coordinating with those contractions. So you get warm in the area as well. Are you going to be sore afterwards? Not that where you're like, oh, yeah, I can't move. I can't go down the stairs or anything like that. No, it never should be like that. But we also want people to hydrate really well before, hydrate really well afterwards. So you want to take care of your muscles. And people will start to see muscle definition in about 3 or 4 weeks. And it lasts for 3 months. So it's an investment in time that really, once a quarter, come back in and tune up your muscles. So much like other devices that are out there, this is the one that just sort of takes a lot of the work away, but still maintains a lot of benefits.
Well, I love your framing of sometimes if folks have had a GLP, maybe they've lost weight a little bit rapidly,
Mm-hmm.
they want to kind of fill up the back of their arms with a little bit of muscle. It might give people just kind of a leg up, and then
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they can use that leg up to say, okay, and then I have that much more confidence to go to the gym as
Exactly.
a, it's a bridge. It's not an instead of, it's a bridge to get to.
Right. And you and I know when we're grabbing weight and we're doing a deadlift or we're doing something like that, and it's kind of on the, it's heavier than what we were in the beginning. It just, there's something about that goes, whoa, yes, I'm a little bit of a badass kind of stuff. It's just like, I don't know. That's what my experience when I'm walking around and, and I'm doing these things and I'm like, my legs are strong. I can do this. I try not to compare myself to everyone else because they're 30 years younger. And I won't ever lift that way again. And I'm okay with that. But I know that this is heavier than I did 2 months ago. And that's my metric, is that, am I getting stronger and stronger? All right, let me change it. And so anyways, it's that sense of, can I get them to that sense of empowerment that says, ooh, I'm strong. And if this device can get them there, then it's going to get them there.
And it's a great feeling, like you say, and part of that mojo, taking up space in your life,
Mm-hmm.
saying, yes, I can. If society is saying, okay, you've become the invisible woman, right?
Yeah.
When I'm out with my son and I get mammed all the time, I'm like, okay, I'm a completely asexual being now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
going to the gym, lifting weights, having that, yeah, I am a badass. I just did that. So I love kind of any way we can get to that feeling is so important right now.
Yes. Agreed. Totally agree. Yes.
So tell us if folks, you are in Minnesota, correct?
I am in Minnesota.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how, if folks want to reach out to you, if folks are in Minnesota or if you're licensed in other states in Minnesota, how do folks work with you?
Well, they can go to my website, terripeñamd.com. So TerriPenamd.com. And then can do a discovery call. I'm also licensed in New York and New Jersey, Texas, Utah, and Tennessee. Are kind of a weird scattering of licensing, but those are my license. So telehealth is definitely part of my business model. But if you're in Minnesota, of course, I'd love to see you face to face. But the easiest, simplest way that I have is just to the website, schedule a discovery call. You'll have a little form that gives me a little idea, and we just chat to say, hey, this is how I work. This is what it, does it fit to you? Does it not fit to you? It's just getting to know each other. Is this what you want? Because I want to make sure you're getting what you want. I do things differently. I don't do things like you would typically get. I'm not problem focused. I am whole person, holistic health focused. So I'm going to look at your whole self, your whole life. Where is it out of balance? And then from there, create those metrics, work on that metabolic health, mojo, and muscle.
I love that. I love the framework. And it's so helpful to have a framework because I think there's so much noise about women's health right now. And people don't know even where to focus. And everybody and their brother wants to sell you a potion or this collagen supplement or that, or you need this version of whatever.
Right.
And so if you just, okay, sometimes women get so caught up in, well, I saw this on TikTok or I saw this on Instagram, but they're not exercising, right? And so if let's go back to the basics. And I love this 4M framework. Are you cultivating your mental health, right? We could put mojo and mental health together.
You bet.
Are you lifting weights and doing some resistance work? Where's your metabolism, right? That's so important. So this has been, I just love your framework, Terri. This is just fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, this has been really fun and just also great to have kind of a real conversation about creating space for yourself at this point in your life and making the second half of your life your better half.
Yeah. Better the way I want it instead of the way I was thought I should have been doing it. So yeah, I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for listening to Menopause Rescue. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and it helps you create some time and space to make this the best half of your life. If you've enjoyed this content, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. This helps other listeners find this resource and rescue and restore their health. If you enjoyed this topic and want to learn more, check out our resource guide for this episode. If today's podcast resonated with you and you want to take a deeper dive, check out my educational resources. We offer basic membership, which is an archive of over 100 videos on menopausal topics ranging from bone health to libido. We add to this archive every month, so the resource becomes richer and richer over time. If you're looking for a menopause expert and live in North Carolina, take our free online class and see if we're a match for your needs. It's called Are We a Good Fit? And is a quick and easy way to learn more about our practice and what it has to offer. Hey, this is Dr. Watson. This is just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed, and any information you get from this podcast is considered educational only. You should make medical decisions with your healthcare provider. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. Listeners should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition, and they should seek assistance from their healthcare professionals.